They planned to stay 4 months. They left in 8 weeks. No official report ever explained what they found. Something under the ice was waiting. It still is. The Midnight Paradigm. Today, we investigate Antarctica's most classified mystery and the evidence hiding in plain sight. Antarctica is roughly 1.5 times the size of the United States. 99% of it is buried under ice. In the coldest place on Earth, temperatures reaching -98 degrees Celsius, the ice holds secrets that have accumulated for millions of years. Those bubbles of trapped air are not merely curiosities. Each one is a sealed time capsule from a different era of human civilization. The deepest layers hold air from the Renaissance, deeper still from ancient Rome. At 4 kilometers down, the ice stops. Something else begins. What investigators would confirm 3 decades later would rewrite the map of Antarctica entirely. But in the autumn of 1946, none of that was known. Admiral Richard Evelyn Byard was not a man given to exaggeration. He had flown over the North Pole in 1926, receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor. In 1929, he became the first person to fly over the South Pole. By 41 years of age, he was the youngest admiral in United States naval history. When the United States Navy assigned him to lead Operation Highjump in August 1946, the mission parameters were clear on paper. 13 ships, 23 aircraft, 4,700 military personnel, the largest single expedition ever assembled for Antarctica. The stated objectives were scientific mapping, weather observation, and identifying sites for potential military installations. Standard post-war reconnaissance. The mission was scheduled for 4 months, December through March, a full Antarctic summer season. They departed in late August. By February 1947, barely 8 weeks into the operation, the entire fleet was heading north. Official Navy communiques cited deteriorating weather conditions and logistical complications. The explanation was accepted, filed, archived. But in March 1947, Admiral Byard gave an interview to a Chilean newspaper. What he said was never referenced in any official Navy debrief. He described, in measured terms, an adversary unlike anything the Navy had encountered. One capable of traveling from pole to pole at speeds no aircraft of 1947 could match. No journalist followed up. No senator requested a hearing. The statement was absorbed into the noise of post-war America and forgotten, until it wasn't. To understand what Byard's fleet may have encountered, we need to understand what Antarctica actually conceals beneath its surface. In January 2026, researchers published the most detailed map ever produced of Antarctica's subglacial landscape, combining satellite observation with glacier physics modeling. What the map revealed was not a flat bedrock floor. It was thousands of previously unknown hills, ridges, and valleys, an entire hidden continent beneath the continent. In July 2025, radar data revealed something more specific: the buried remains of a vast ancient coastal plain beneath East Antarctica, shaped by enormous rivers over 80 million years ago. That landscape has been preserved, completely undisturbed beneath the ice for more than 30 million years. No erosion, no alteration, frozen in time. Beneath that ancient terrain, water, not frozen, liquid. Over 400 subglacial lakes have been identified, sealed from the surface world for timescales that dwarf recorded history. Lake Vostok, the largest, sits nearly 4 kilometers beneath the surface. It is comparable in size to Lake Ontario. It has been completely isolated from the atmosphere for 15 million years. In November 2025, a separate discovery was published. A different subglacial lake, smaller, shallower, was found to contain a complex microbial ecosystem. Life, thriving in permanent darkness. The finding challenged the fundamental assumption that complex life requires sunlight. If it can exist here, the implications extend far beyond Antarctica. But the lakes and the ancient landscapes were not the anomaly that first drew military attention to this continent. That distinction belongs to something far harder to explain. In March 2026, a peer-reviewed study confirmed Antarctica sits over a measurable gravity hole, a region where Earth's pull is weaker than anywhere else. Scientists determined the anomaly formed between 50 and 30 million years ago. The precise period Antarctica began its transformation into a frozen continent. The gravity hole sits directly above the region containing the greatest concentration of subglacial lakes. The coincidence has not gone unexamined. Deep within the Earth beneath Antarctica, rock is moving, slowly, continuously, driven by thermal forces that have been building for tens of millions of years. Antarctica may also harbor the world's largest volcanic region. 168 known volcanoes lie beneath the ice, some of them active. Heat rising from below, liquid water pooling above, a gravity field behaving anomalously. These are not conspiracy theories. These are published, peer-reviewed findings. What they do not explain is why a peacetime military expedition of nearly 5,000 personnel retreated from this continent without completing its mission. The official record of Operation Highjump contains one anomaly that researchers have returned to repeatedly. The mission lost aircraft. The circumstances were never fully documented. 3 men died during the operation. Official cause: an aircraft crash attributed to navigation error in whiteout conditions. No wreckage was ever recovered. In Antarctica, wreckage does not simply vanish. Ice preserves. The McMurdo Dry Valleys have seen no rain in thousands of years. Objects endure. NASA uses those same valleys as a testing ground for Mars mission instruments. The environment is considered the closest analog to another planet found on Earth. That detail matters, because the question of whether life can exist in extreme isolation, asked here on Earth, carries implications that extend to every frozen moon in our solar system. But we are getting ahead of the investigation. Return to 1947. Return to the question Bayed's statement raised, and no one in authority chose to answer. The German Antarctic expedition of 1938 had arrived 8 years before Bayed. Their mission was cartographic. Their methods were unusual. The Schwabenland expedition dropped metal marker flags across a claimed territory they named New Schwabenland. Over 11,000 square kilometers were photographed by aerial survey. The expedition returned in early 1939. Within months, Germany invaded Poland. The Antarctic territory was never formally developed, officially. The word officially carries significant weight in Antarctic history, because what nations claim publicly and what they pursue in the field are not always identical. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959, signed by 12 nations, declared the continent a scientific preserve. Military activity was formally prohibited. 54 nations have since acceded to the treaty. The continent remains the only landmass on Earth with no sovereign government and no permanent civilian population. No sovereign government, no civilian oversight, no independent press corps with permanent access. The conditions for concealment, if concealment were desired, are structurally perfect. This is not a conspiracy premise. It is a structural observation. Every investigator working this case must begin with the geography of secrecy. The gravity anomaly confirmed in March 2026 occupies the same geographic zone as the continent's deepest subglacial features. That zone has a name among researchers: the Wilkes Land anomaly, first detected by satellite gravimetry in 2006. A mass concentration roughly the size of Ohio buried beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet. The leading scientific explanation is an ancient impact crater, possibly the largest ever identified on Earth, formed approximately 250 million years ago. That timing coincides with the Permian-Triassic extinction event, the largest mass extinction in Earth's history. 96% of all marine species gone. The impact hypothesis remains contested. Some researchers argue the mass concentration is geological, not extraterrestrial. The debate has not been resolved. What is not contested? Something of enormous mass lies beneath East Antarctica, something that bends the planet's gravitational field around it. In March 2026, high-resolution mapping revealed something else entirely. Hundreds of vast submarine canyons carved into Antarctica's continental shelf, previously unknown. Some canyons extend tens of kilometers into the shelf. Their depth and orientation suggest they could be actively channeling ice flow toward the ocean in ways not previously modeled. The continent has lost nearly 5,000 square miles of grounded ice in 30 years. The grounding line, where ice meets bedrock, is retreating at an accelerating rate. As the ice retreats, it exposes terrain that has been sealed from human observation for millions of years. What that terrain contains is only beginning to emerge. In the Beardmore Glacier region, 500 kilometers from the South Pole, Robert Falcon Scott's 1912 expedition found fossilized leaves, beech tree impressions, in Antarctica. Scott's team carried those fossil samples during their fatal return march from the pole. They weighed 14 kilograms. They kept them until the end. Recent discoveries have nearly doubled the known count of Antarctic fossil forests. The continent once hosted temperate rainforests with temperatures reaching 21 degrees Celsius. 100 million years ago, conifers and ferns dominated this landscape. Rivers ran to the sea. The continent sat near the South Pole even then. The question that follows is unavoidable. If life thrived here in conditions this extreme, what survives now, sealed beneath the ice, that we have not yet found? The Russian drilling team that reached Lake Vostok in 2012 extracted a core sample just as the water began to rise into the borehole. They stopped. The frozen lake water they brought to the surface contained unusual bacterial DNA, not conclusively identified, not matched to any known surface organism. The scientific community urged caution. Contamination from the drilling fluid was possible. A return mission was proposed. It has not yet been completed. 14 years have passed since that core was extracted. The sample sits in storage. The lake sits sealed. The question sits unanswered. Now consider what the ice itself has been doing while that sample waits. Antarctica is losing meteorites at 5,000 per year, buried by warming ice. 5,000 space rocks per year becoming inaccessible, each one a potential record of solar system history, being swallowed irretrievably. The ice is not simply melting, it is actively changing what can be known. Evidence is being archived beyond reach by the continent itself. In the Ross Ice Shelf, scientists detected something in 2018 that their instruments had no prior classification for. The ice was producing sound. Not cracking, not the mechanical stress of shifting ice. A continuous resonance traveling through 2 miles of frozen water at frequencies below human hearing. Researchers named it singing ice. Wind-driven surface vibrations were identified as one component, but the deepest, most consistent tones had a different origin. The lowest frequencies originated from below the depth at which surface weather could produce vibration. Something beneath the shelf was resonating, continuously. The British Antarctic Survey's marine biologist Hugh Griffith stated it plainly. The ocean beneath the ice shelves is virtually unexplored. We do not know what is there. That statement, from one of the world's leading Antarctic marine biologists, is the most important sentence in this investigation. We do not know what is there. Now return to the surface. Return to the Peary Rise map, drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer using source charts he documented, but did not name. The map depicts a large southern landmass in the position of Antarctica, with a coastline that resembles the continent's actual shape beneath the ice. Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820. The Peary Rise map predates that by 3 centuries. The cartographer noted his sources were ancient and pre-existing. Mainstream cartographic historians note the southern landmass may represent Terra Australis, a theoretical continent postulated by ancient Greek geographers, not an actual survey. That explanation is reasonable. It is also incomplete, because the subglacial coastline match, not the ice-covered shape, remains difficult to dismiss as coincidence. The ice sheet covering Antarctica has been in place for at least 14 million years. Human civilization is approximately 12,000 years old. The math does not resolve. What the Peary Rise map genuinely demonstrates is this: knowledge of Antarctica's existence, in some form, predates its official discovery by centuries. The source of that knowledge is unknown. Now the investigation arrives at its most consequential thread: not what ancient maps suggest, not what subglacial lakes contain, what the satellite images showed in 2016. In the Ellsworth Mountains of West Antarctica, satellite imagery captured a peak with 4 near-symmetrical faces and a pointed summit. From above, the geometry was striking. Geologists identified it immediately as a nunatak, a peak protruding above ice, shaped by freeze-thaw weathering over millions of years. A natural process, well documented. The Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps was formed by the same process. No one suggests the Matterhorn is artificial. The Antarctic formation should require no different standard. And yet, the same satellite surveys that identified the nunatak also captured something adjacent: a large rectangular opening in a nearby rock face. The opening's edges were clean, straight lines where natural rock fracture produces irregular breaks. Glaciologists offered freeze-thaw explanations. The geometry remained uncomfortable. Glaciologist Dr. Peter Neff, responding to online speculation about such features, stated his purpose was simply to show people the reality of Antarctica, not the mythology. That is a reasonable scientific position. It is also, structurally, a non-answer. Showing reality does not explain every feature that reality contains. In March 2026, online researchers reported what they called an ice door, a sealed opening in a massive Antarctic ice wall, estimated at 6,000 years old. The claim has not been peer-reviewed. The coordinates have not been independently verified, but the pattern it represents, features that resist easy classification, is consistent. Across the continent, features appear in satellite imagery that generate the same response from researchers. Natural explanation offered, specific geometry left unaddressed. The investigation now reaches its paradigm shift. Not a single discovery, a convergence. Every thread examined in this case leads to the same structural conclusion. Antarctica is not hiding one secret. It is a continent-scale archive of secrets, geological, biological, historical, and possibly structural, that we lack the tools to fully read. The gravity anomaly is real. The subglacial lakes are real. The singing ice is real. The unidentified DNA from Lake Vostok is real. None of it is fully explained. An Operation Highjump, 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, 8 weeks. The most powerful navy on Earth turned around. That is real, and it remains unexplained. What changed in the decades after Highjump? 12 nations signed a treaty placing Antarctica beyond sovereign claim, permanently. The timing deserves examination. 12 years separated Biad's retreat from the treaty's signing. 12 years in which no major nation publicly disclosed what their Antarctic expeditions had found. The treaty's prohibition on military activity is verifiable on paper. What occurs beneath the ice, in the subglacial terrain no surface inspection can reach, is not. This is where responsible investigation must separate what is known from what is theorized. The evidence demands precision. Speculation dressed as fact serves no one. Confirmed. Subglacial lakes containing unknown biological material. Confirmed. A gravity anomaly of continental scale. Confirmed. Volcanic activity beneath the ice. Confirmed. A military expedition that departed early without full public explanation. Confirmed. A treaty that placed the continent beyond independent civilian oversight. Unknown. What Bayard's fleet encountered. Unknown. What the unidentified Vostok DNA represents. Unknown. What resonates beneath the Ross ice shelf at frequencies below human hearing. The honest answer to Antarctica's mystery is not aliens. It is not Nazis. It is not a hollow Earth. The honest answer is, we genuinely do not know. And that absence of knowledge, on a continent covering 14 million square kilometers, is itself the most extraordinary fact in this entire investigation. Consider the scale of what remains unmapped. The subglacial terrain revealed in January 2026 showed thousands of previously unknown hills and ridges. That was one new map. Marine biologist Griffiths described Antarctica's unanswered questions plainly. The more you find out, the more questions it raises than answers. That is not evasion. That is the science. Ice sheet experts studying recent changes stated their astonishment directly. Changes of a magnitude and timescale they never thought possible, observed in a single decade. If the ice continues retreating at current rates, what lies beneath will be exposed, not in geological time, in human lifetimes, possibly within decades. Blood Falls on Taylor Glacier already hints at what the ice conceals. Iron-rich saltwater seeps from beneath, oxidizing on contact with air, staining the glacier vivid red. Beneath that glacier, a brine lake has been isolated for approximately 15 million years. Its microbial community has been evolving in complete darkness, alone. 1.5 million years of isolated evolution. In a lake we only confirmed existed in 2017. Beneath a glacier named for a man who died before we knew it was there. The Antarctic Treaty Nations conduct research on this continent. They share findings through international scientific bodies, and they maintain facilities whose full scope is not publicly catalogued. This is not accusation. It is observation. Every major power on Earth maintains a permanent presence on a continent with no indigenous population and no independent oversight. What they have found beneath the ice in 70 years of drilling, radar mapping, and seismic monitoring has not been fully disclosed by any of them. The IceCube Neutrino Observatory, buried nearly 3 kilometers deep in Antarctic ice, detects ghost particles from violent cosmic events billions of light-years away. 86 bore holes, 5,000 detectors, frozen in the same ice that holds 15-million-year-old lakes beneath it. The continent accommodates both simultaneously. Antarctica is simultaneously the most scientifically instrumented and the least understood landmass on Earth. That contradiction is not incidental. It is the case. Admiral Bayard made 4 expeditions to Antarctica between 1928 and 1939 1956. He died in 1957. His personal papers were donated to Ohio State University. Some remain restricted. The man who saw whatever Operation Highjump encountered, who described a new enemy capable of pole-to-pole travel, left behind records that are not fully accessible. Still, what should we conclude? Not that aliens built bases beneath the ice. Not that Nazi submarines patrol subglacial lakes. The evidence does not support those conclusions. What the evidence does support: Antarctica contains phenomena, biological, geological, gravitational, acoustic, that have not been fully explained by any public scientific body. And a military expedition that encountered something in 1947 turned around and never fully explained why. That fact has outlasted every administration that has tried to bury it. The ice is retreating. The subglacial terrain is being mapped. The sealed lakes will eventually be reached. Antarctica is not keeping its secrets forever, only for now. What do you think is beneath the Antarctic ice? The evidence is in front of you. The question is yours. Leave your theory below and watch what we find next.